John Sager with Groundworks Fitness, and my special guest today is Stephanie Casto. She came to us a couple years ago, just the typical person in her midlife trying to lose some weight, get over the humps, get over the constant yo-yoing diet, and she has a great story, so we're going to get right into it and kind of give you some history on her and kind of the success that she's had from day one starting here. So Stephanie, glad that you're here. I'm glad you decided to sit down in front with us and kind of go through your story. So I want to kind of start back before you even came to us and kind of give us kind of what you went through before you found Groundworks Fitness.
All right, well, like you said, I kind of yo-yoed back and forth. When I was in high school, I was pretty athletic, played volleyball, worked out a lot, and just after college, you kind of get settled
Right.
into marriage and everything gets comfortable, and the pounds start sticking. But I tried everything. Tried eating right, but I'd eat right and then I wouldn't exercise, or I'd exercise then I wouldn't eat right, and I'd ran into some medical issues, so I was just stuck, and I needed something to help.
Life kind of got in the way, and you basically started gaining pounds. Was there a point there to where you kind of realized it, even more so before you came or before you started a diet? Was there a point in your life to where you kind of realized, hey, I got to do something? Or is it just one of those things that just life kind of got ahead, and then 5 years on the road, 10 years on the road, you're like, it's just too much?
I realized that I needed to do something before I came here. And you try on your own, like, oh, I can do it. You get a treadmill, but then it just becomes a clothes hanger.
Right.
I realized that I needed structure, I needed guidance. I couldn't do it on my own.
And you stated earlier that you tried different diets, you yo-yoed. How long did that go on? Was there a period of your life where it was 3 years, 4 years where you just consistently yo-yoed and you didn't really have the success that you wanted?
Before I came here, it was at least 3-4 years. I'd take off a few pounds, then get frustrated, put on a few pounds, get more frustrated, try something new. Nothing ever stuck. Nothing ever really worked.
When that happens, what's the emotional side effect to that? Because I think a lot of people go through this yo-yoing stage to where they do get frustrated. What's the triggers? What's the emotional connect there to where it kind of, is there emotional toll on you? Does it kind of break you down? What happens there? Is there hope every single time you start a new diet, or is it just consistently
There is an emotional toll. You get angry with yourself, frustrated. You kind of get a little depressed because you want to improve yourself, but nothing seems to work, and you just kind of get further and further down into this sadness and frustration, and nothing seems to help.
It's such a big thing because, like I said, we see it a lot where people it's almost a lie, or you have this hope to where you're going to get better and this new fad or this new diet's going to work, but yet you see success for a little bit and then you plummet again, and it's right back to square one. We just see that a lot happen. How many times do you see yourself going through that? Was it a lot, or did you realize, this just isn't it for me?
It was a lot. You try something, you lose a few pounds, and you're like, oh yeah, this is great. But then you get back into your old routines, and straight back to nothing's working. I can't lose weight. Why even bother?
Yeah.
And then something new comes along. You're like, oh, I'll try that. This is gonna work this time.
Right.
This is gonna be it. Yeah. And then
just lets you down again.
Yeah.
It basically builds you up and then just lets you crumble and fall.
Exactly.
Was there any point in that time where you were working out consistently, or were you eating right consistently, or was it just you focused on one thing only and then you kind of went from there?
One thing only.
One thing only.
Yeah, usually it was just one thing only. Or I'd try this time I'll eat right. But then the exercise kind of lacked.
Just wasn't there.
I could never put it all together.
And it's hard. It's a lot of commitment there to do that.
Yeah.
So what triggered you to decide that, I got to start eating right, I got to start exercising, I got to actually put all the pieces of the puzzle together and make this work? What was the trigger there? that made that come up?
The main thing for me is my husband and I, we wanted to start a family. We wanted to have a family. And I wanted to be healthy enough and active enough to enjoy that family.
Right.
And nothing else was working, so I knew I had to do something more.
I think there's a lot of females that are in your same situation, your same shoes. I mean, if you can give them one word of advice, what would it be to kind of get them to put all the pieces together?
Just get focused, realize that you're worth working on, you're worth doing whatever it takes to get healthy and be active. Because that's what it took for me, realizing that I was worth
the time.
Yes.
The energy. I think that's such a huge thing, because being a female already, like you always want to give, you want to help, you always want to do something, and it seems like the last thing you ever want to do is take care of yourself.
Yes.
When really that's the most important thing to do, and you're fortunate to kind of realize that at an early stage of your life, to realize, you know what, I got to do something. Myself, I am very important, and that's a huge thing. That's almost a huge barrier for people to get over too. I mean, what was it that got you over that barrier to say, you know what, I got to focus on me? And I know you said you want to start a family. Was that really truly, was that it? It was like, you know what, I got to take time, focus on myself so I can raise a family, so I can be active with my kids.
Yeah, that truly was the turning point. I knew that in order for that to happen, I had to take care of myself.
That's huge. That's big. So fast forward a little bit, you decided to come to us.
Yes.
What was the trigger for Groundworks Fitness? Was it just because we were local, or was it, did you know somebody?
No, you were local. We were like 5 minutes from where I live, and that was key for me, because if I had to drive somewhere, I knew that it might not last, or I might get bored. So I came up here and just wanted to look around, wanted to talk to somebody and see what was happening in here.
See what we were all about, see what we were doing, right? When you started, you've lost a significant amount of weight. What was your first goal coming here? Was it just to lose weight? Was it to feel better? Was it to actually just create that person that you truly wanted and take time and spend creating that?
Yeah, the first thing that I wanted to do was just set some goals, because I was lost. I didn't know what I needed to do. I didn't know what I needed to eat. So I just wanted to set some goals, and then after doing that, it just kind of built from there. I was able to exercise and eat right.
Did you find it easier, or was it difficult to kind of start and put everything together at one time, or not necessarily just one time, but over a period of time? Was it easy for you to do that?
It was easy because I had your help.
Always makes things easier.
Yes. Just to have some guidance, because there's so much information out there that it's hard to tell what's right and what you need to do. Is this right, or is this right? Because there's so many conflicting stories and information that if you don't have somebody to help you that knows what they're doing, it's hard to put it all together.
And I think we see that happen quite often. Is there is so many conflicting stories out there. There's so much information, and sometimes you go in this information overload, and it's almost hard to kind of get the plan together and make things happen. So when you started working out, when you started eating correctly, how did you feel? Was there a major shift in your life where you realized it and you noticed this was working?
Oh, definitely. Once you start eating right, you feel your body just feels more energy, and exercising, it's tiring at first, you're sore, but you feel so much better after a workout that you want to come back and have that feeling again.
Right.
And the longer you do it, the better you feel. You sleep better. When you're awake, you feel more energized, and all that just builds and builds and builds, and you want to just keep doing more. Just keep getting that feeling.
So you felt that almost instantaneously then?
Yeah.
How were your workouts? did you think you had to spend hours in the gym, or did you just spend 20, 30 minutes in the gym? I mean, what was that experience for you? And before you even kind of go in that experience, what was your mindset before that? Like, what was your thought of working out?
Well, I had some experience in high school working out, and I always enjoyed it. It was just tough to get back into that. But, I know a lot of people think that it's going to take forever and I got to be there all day. But I knew that, it just takes half hour to an hour of activity to change your life. and I was ready at that time to do it.
And I think that's a huge thing, is you have to be committed to do it. You have to be ready to do it and really focused on what you really truly want. And you stated that you wanted to set goals and get some good goals set up so you can be successful. And I think that's a huge part. I think when we start looking back on things, we look at like the yo-yoing diet. And I think when people start thinking about losing weight, they think it's going to be a hard task, and they think there's going to be so much work behind it. Did you feel overwhelmed? And was there a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't know if I can do this?
There was. Right off the bat, it was great. Because you lose, once you just start moving and eating well, you lose weight pretty quickly. But, you kind of plateau, and it gets a little frustrating at times. Maybe you're not so committed. But, once you set your mind to just getting focused, getting in here, working, eating right,
changes.
My mindset changed.
How was that? You brought up a really good point where you sort of hit plateaus. I mean, and I know you went through that stage where you hit a plateau. I mean, and it's happened not just once or twice, but it happens quite often because it's typical. But how was your mindset doing that? Because like I said, you knew you were committed, you knew you wanted to focus on yourself, and then boom, something happened, and you kind of just plateaued. I mean, what happens there? Like, what was going on?
I think you just let life happen. Life takes over, and you're not so focused. But you just, I realized that I was doing it to myself.
Right.
I wasn't maybe exercising like I should have. I wasn't pushing myself, or, maybe I was kind of slacking on the eating right.
Right.
Which, it's kind of easy to fall back into your old routines, but I guess having the information and the knowledge that I've learned here, it's a lot easier to get back on track than it was when I was by myself, not here.
And I think one of the big points is that definitely you go through the stage where you hit plateaus. You don't necessarily gain the weight back, just the fact that there's times where you just won't lose weight. And I think people come into weight loss thinking, I got to lose weight consistently every single week, but it doesn't necessarily happen. I mean, but then again, like, you jump right back on the bandwagon, you got recommitted. And you brought up a great point, is life happens. And we know that. Like, there's always going to be something that comes up. There's always going to be something where you're like, oh my gosh, again? But how do you work through that? What gets you to kind of pull through that and get back to where you need to be?
Just getting refocused, just knowing how well I felt, eating right and exercising, and even those times where maybe I wasn't losing pounds every week, just exercising, I still felt great.
Right.
I still had the energy, and I still felt better. My clothes fit better, and just getting back on track is what I needed to do, and just knowing that the way I felt was more important than what I wanted to eat at that time. And
being a female, I mean, clothing is such a huge thing. How good does it feel when you can shop for a different size and smaller size clothes?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing, because you wear stuff when you wear your old size, and it's like slow at first, but then you're like, bam, it's like, man, this stuff's falling off. And Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, it has to feel good when you know you can walk into a store and not have to go to the plus size or the big sizes to get clothes and know, like, you know what, I can wear this now.
Yeah, and that's a huge motivator,
And it's always good to get rid of old clothes that don't fit. I mean,
Absolutely.
and just even feeling them on, you know, like look at the success that I've had. I mean, that has to feel good when you see that.
Oh yeah, 'cause, I mean, even on the scale, you know, oh great, I'm losing a few pounds here, a few pounds here, but you can't really tell until you slip on those pair of jeans and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
I've lost some inches.
Yeah.
How would you say your energy is now that you've done this for a year and you've seen the success that you've had? I mean, do you feel like this is going to be what's going to get you to where you truly want to be and help you raise that family and that child to where you feel good? I mean, is this going to be a part of the rest of your life, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. I have so much more energy now than I did before. I started running, which
is a huge
never
thing.
thought that I ever wanted to do.
Which is a huge accomplishment. I mean, you ran part of a marathon right there. I mean,
yeah,
something that almost no one ever thinks that they can do when they're trying to lose weight, like run a marathon or even a leg of a marathon. That's something you can't even comprehend at times.
Yeah, the energy has skyrocketed, and it's amazing.
That's awesome.
You just want to continue that feeling and continue that you know this is making such a big difference in your life. And you know, now that we have a family coming, I can be confident that I can take care of that family and, you know, be able to run and play and
enjoy it.
Yes.
And not be sitting on the sidelines watching everything else and be able to sit there and enjoy that. I mean, that's huge. And that makes life so much more enjoyable when you're able to do that. And you know you can do that. I mean, you're able to live a full life when that happens. How is a transition, or not necessarily a transition, I mean, how is the adapting to the house and like eating right, working out? Is that your lifestyle now? Is that kind of what it's become?
Yes. It was a struggle at first, just to get used to, you know, eating different foods, getting rid of all the junk food. But if you stay committed enough, you know, the weeks build and build, and then, you know, eventually it just becomes first nature.
Right.
And, you know, I go to the grocery store now and I only buy healthy food. It's like I don't even look down the junk food aisles. And yeah, it just becomes your state of mind.
Yeah, just who you become.
Yes.
I think another huge aspect to this is your social life and your support group. I mean, I know your story, and I know people that you brought in here because of what you've done and your success that you've had. I mean, how has that impacted your social life and your support group?
Oh, it's greatly impacted it. You know, the more people that you have on your side, the easier it is. And, you know, like I brought in my sister and her boyfriend, and my husband has joined, and it's great because we're all on the same page. We're all trying to get healthy, lose the weight, and that is just huge to have that support. So you don't have to constantly struggle through life, you know, or your friends like, oh yeah, eat this, do this. But the more people you have involved with what you're doing, the easier it is.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it takes that one person to go do that, and it happened to be you, and now you had the beauty of knowing that you've helped change someone else's life. I mean, knowing that it was you going there first and making that commitment and saying, you know what, I want to live a healthy life. I want to be around for my child when they're born. And now look what happened. It's just a snowball effect. And I mean, that has to feel good too. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that actually happens.
Yeah.
And you're like living proof that really does happen. Other people have came because they saw me do it, and now my support group's all positive.
Yeah, it's exciting because I know that, you know, I'm going to be around longer, and now that I've, you know, helped people realize that, you know, it's worked. It's worked for me, for my husband, and, you know, they've joined the family. So
there it is. It's a family.
Right. Yeah, it really is a family affair,
And it's fun. I mean,
yeah,
it makes life completely different. I mean, it's so much easier for you. It's so much easier for them now. So it's like it's just one big thing now. Like everyone's happy.
Exactly. And the more people you get involved, I think the better it is, because if someone falters, there's so many more people to watch in and grab them and say it's okay. And
so you have more than just two eyeballs watching you all the time. Like
exactly.
Everyone's watching what's going on. I think that's a huge thing. I mean, you should be proud of yourself for doing that and involving your family, because that's huge. And sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a year, 2 years. But you know what? Somehow you've impacted that. Before we go to that, I mean, what is your one key advice to somebody that is maybe on the edge of, will this work for me? Is this the final solution? Is this actually what's going to happen? Will I be successful? What would you tell that person? Because you, of all people, you brought people here, so you've done that already. So you had to give someone some kind of positive advice. Say, you know what, this does work. It happens.
Yeah, I would tell them that, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. But life's a struggle.
Right.
And you just have to stay committed. You have to focus on yourself. And once you do that and people see that it works, then they'll join you. And they'll see how happy and how healthy you've become, and they want that same thing for themselves. And that's pretty much all the advice I could have, is just focus on yourself, and people will join you.
And I think that's a huge thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really what it comes down to, is taking the time and really focusing on yourself and realizing that you are worth it.
Yeah.
Because you are. And just so many people go through life thinking that this is as good as it gets, this is all I have. I don't have time for myself, but you make it to where, you know what, you're absolutely worth it, and people need to realize that. So Stephanie, I want to thank you today. I just congratulate you again for the success that you've had in helping build the family and bringing other people involved in this, because you've changed other people's lives because of it and because of your success. I'm John Sager, and once again, this is Stephanie Casto, and this is Groundworks Fitness, and we appreciate you watching.